welcome back to What Do You Think of This? This is episode 2, and we're revisiting the best things from our past to let you know whether they're the best things for your future. I'm Jeff Abiad, and with me again is Josue Escobar.
Hey, what's up, Jeff?
Hey, Josue, how's it going?
Good, really good.
The week has been good? You were on vacation this week.
Yeah, I went on vacation. I have a funny story to tell you.
I will take it.
Before we get into everything. But so that Thursday before we left to Massanutten, we went to Massanutten.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I went to help out a church with their audio,
As you do.
their audio stuff in like Wheaton, Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I do. I'm an audio engineer and production guy. So for those of you who didn't know. But yeah, so they reached out to me a month ago and they were like, hey, we got your number from Jeff Abiad.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Recently?
Recently, yeah. No, not recently.
Oh.
We got your number from Jeff Abiad. I'm like, okay, great. I never thought to ask you, like, hey, do you know Luke Link? He reached out to me. I'm glad I didn't, because you would have been like, I don't know a Luke Link. Right?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
But anyway, so I go down there. I didn't ask like where he got, met you from or whatever. But their pastor shows up a little bit later after, we start like tinkering with some stuff, kind of looking through their soundboard and what they're doing and, how they run their audio, what they're looking to do and things like that and how I could help. And their pastor is the one who tells me he got my phone number from Capital Life.
Okay.
From you. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I never actually like asked Jeff about Luke or, this church. And he was like, oh yeah, no, it was a long, long time ago. And in fact, I know Jeff's brother more than I know Jeff.
Oh.
So he knows James.
Okay.
Because his wife worked with James what does your brother do with the government? Works with the government?
It's very secretive. We can't talk about it on this podcast. No.
He worked with James in I guess the same department, the same office or whatever.
Okay.
And he got my number when he came to visit Capital Life in 2017.
2017?
Yeah.
Oh.
And he put my phone number into his phone as Audio Wizard.
I think that's appropriate.
I'm like, oh, so you didn't get my number recently from Jeff? Or from?
Did he get it from me?
He got it from me.
Okay, I was going to say
at
back
Capital
then,
Life, yeah. He was at a service. They thought it sounded great.
And he probably looked around at the room and thought, this shouldn't sound this good.
Well, that, and he was, the room that they're in right now, the church that he pastors, looks very much like Capital Life's, vaulted ceilings.
Okay,
and
a lot of wood.
A lot of wood. Brick. Well, they got a lot of brick wall,
okay.
brick walls and vaulted ceilings. It's kind of scary for running audio.
Yeah.
And you have a live band, drums, guitar, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But I thought that was hilarious. I was like, you kept my number for this many years?
And he didn't even have your name? Just Audio Wizard? Or did it say Josue?
I think it said Josue, but he's like Josue Escobar, Audio Wizard.
Yeah.
On it. I'm like, that is so hysterical.
You didn't recognize him? I mean, since 2017.
No, I didn't recognize him at all. I think I might have had, I don't know, about a couple thousand encounters of people going, hey, it sounds really good.
Especially in the back.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, don't be modest. No, you deserve it.
For what we had to deal with. Yeah, I think it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it still sounds great now too.
That sounds awesome. Yeah. We get that all the time. In fact, we just retuned the room. I wasn't there for it. I just got to come back and experience it. They had to turn things down because the stage was shaken. It was sounding really good.
Oh, cool. And one of the things that I kind of a little story I told them was you'd be surprised at how much of a difference it makes to actually organize your stage and your cabling.
Oh yeah.
You wrap cables down, tie, zip tie or gaff tape your stage, run your lines nice and clean, use clean power. Just doing that and getting rid of the rat's nests of cables, will help tremendously in your mix down the line. And it's kind of a crazy thing to say, but organization really helps.
I mean, I'm fully on board, but are you saying from a sonic perspective?
Yeah. Yeah. I know people are going to be like, you're crazy, but really, you clean up your stage, run your cables. Because I think what happens is you find, oh, this cable is kind of janky.
Yeah.
Because you're organizing things, you're running things cleanly, and you're like, oh, this cable isn't that great. Let me put a different cable that's in better shape, and all of a sudden it it makes it sound better. That's a big deal.
And it looks better.
Yeah, if you're not stepping on a bunch of cables.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to talk badly about different places I've seen whatever, but you know, if your keyboard player has to like can't get to the keyboard because he has to like kick around some cables to just get to the keyboard. Like, that's not good.
Yeah. No, I'm all for a clean stage. Anyway. Okay, I'm all for you're in this space right now. We're in the little corner of my area that I can actually like make how I want it to be. And we were talking about this. So cable runs, I had to troubleshoot on my desk because I have a monitor issue that it's like, I'm hoping this is a cable problem and not a display. It's a display problem. But anyway, I had everything pulled out because I was rerunning cables and testing new cables and switching out an interface. Yeah. And Clark comes in here. He's like, Dad, your desk is messy, it was not messy. But for me, you know, I'm all like, give me a clean space. I don't want to see any cables. I don't want to see anything.
Of course,
He was so shocked. Well, yeah. So our house has been oddly quiet this week because 2 of our kids are at youth camp. So it's been like, we're operating now as a family of 4 instead of 6, which all seems like busyness, but it's a big difference. So we can like, let's just go out to breakfast. We can't. The other kids are going to hear this and be jealous because we're like, when do we ever do that?
Yeah.
Like, but they are going to youth camp, which made me think of all these like camp experiences that I had in the past. Yeah. You know, did you do youth camp as a kid?
Oh yeah, dude, for sure.
Every year?
No, not every year.
I don't think I started going to full-on youth camp until I was halfway through high school. I'd done like conventions and other stuff. Yeah. But youth camp was its own thing. And once I started going, I'm like, why wasn't I doing this all my life? And I remember games at camp being the best, most high energy, lose your voice. We played, I think the only time I ever did this was at camp, but it was human foosball, which I still remember and want to find some excuse to do again because, you know, foosball, but it had you all on like a line and you were attached by
that sounds like
ropes or broomsticks or something, and you couldn't leave your line. It was a big giant inflatable soccer ball. It was great. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, now I'm just trying to find a way to bring that back into my life.
That's awesome. Yeah, we didn't go camping, but we were out in the woods. And it's up in Massanutten near Shenandoah, the Shenandoah River. It's beautiful out there. It's the first time I'd ever been.
Oh, okay. It's great.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And like we're in just this beautiful house tucked into trees, you know, other houses there too. It was beautiful. And there's like deer and
oh wow.
Oh yeah. And the deer had like they didn't care. Like, oh, humans? Whatever. Like walked right by Elizabeth when she'd taken her walk.
It's pretty amazing around here. I mean, you kind of hope that the owners aren't like sitting back on a video camera waiting for you to cross the line going, release the deer.
Well, true, yeah.
That's not. I feel like I stumble across them sometimes in my backyard, so especially when you go out there.
Yeah, but it's so cool. Groundhogs were just walking by. It was like really, really cool. We weren't roughing it at all. I mean, it's beautiful. Like the kitchen, I mean, if Kevin ever hears this, like, bro, this house is amazing. I love it. It's the Sasquatch Chalet. Shout out. If you guys are
Is this a paid advertisement?
Yeah, right?
We're not there yet.
But like the bathroom that me and Elizabeth were using, the floor was heated.
No.
Yeah, and it had a jacuzzi tub. You know, it was like really
I'm
great.
amazed at amenities at these places now. And, you know, I don't know what you're looking for when you go, but we just went with our young adult leadership team at the church and we had a weekend away. And the size of this place, because there's, 13, 14 of us, and it fit us all with no problem. And they've got downstairs a garage that's built into like a game room, of course, with like arcade games and a ping pong table and all this stuff. And like the double decks, like 2 tiers of decks plus underneath and a hammock. The only issue we had is we're out there and go to use like the table. And I showed up. Whenever I came, some guys had gotten there ahead of me and they're like, careful. So for some reason, this is sticky. I'm like, sticky? What? They were all talking about like it was a thing and I didn't know. But then the more you kind of went around, we were eating outside at the table and we started thinking like maybe there's maple trees. So maybe it's like getting around, but it's everywhere. Like the ping pong table, can't play ping pong. It's all sticky. The floors, the whatever. And then when we were leaving and we were signing their guest book, we saw that the previous guest was a bachelor party. And then I was like, I don't want to know. Don't tell me, it was a lovely experience. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah. Let's just say it's, they spilled a bunch of drinks.
They probably did, but it was everywhere. As if they had sprayed like whatever cleaner they used wasn't cleaner. I don't know what they were trying to clean with.
Oh no.
was a mess.
It's
Anyway, we didn't
hilarious.
give them a bad review. We just let them know it's a little bit sticky. Might want to.
Yeah. No, we're definitely gonna give this place a great review. It was just awesome. The kids had a blast. You know, they had their own room.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they had their own room. They had a TV in every single room, and I brought my Apple TV just because wanted to keep up on the Copa America and the Euro, the soccer tournament. And so anyway, great time, awesome. Definitely do it again for
Yeah.
sure.
And so you watched this movie that we're going to talk about while you were here at the Airbnb.
Yep, we watched it there. It was an awesome experience.
Okay, to set the stage a little bit, I looked it up just to verify because I had actually not seen this before.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear.
How many times had you
What'd you think?
seen this before? Like, I mean, just guesstimate.
Oh man, I maybe like all the way through, maybe like 3 times, maybe.
Okay,
3 times.
not a ton, but it's like in culture. It came out in 1985, and for context, when it released, I was like 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah.
So
What month was it? Did it come out?
I'm assuming summer. I didn't look it up.
I wasn't born yet then.
Yeah. So, but it was around long enough that it was just one of those movies that people watch.
Oh yeah.
And I think the culture that surrounds it is what set up, like what makes something like Stranger Things now so nostalgic for the 80s. Because you have movies like E.T. or Karate Kid I looked up, or Sandlot, all around the same time.
Yeah.
And I get it. And I don't know why we missed this specific movie.
The Goonies is about these kids that go on adventures, and they have to move because they don't have enough money. So they go on an adventure to find One-Eyed Willie's treasure, and they do, but then they just leave it. But they have extra money, so they get to stay where they are.
All right, so we're talking about The Goonies.
Yeah.
Listen, I was a little...
Hey, you guys.
Okay, I know that line from this movie, and I had never seen it. I know what the character looks like, and now I've seen it.
Do you remember the one time we were here with the kids, my family, with Elizabeth? We were playing some trivia game, and Elizabeth was my teammate.
Yeah.
We were playing a trivia game that had to do with like movies and TV shows and things like that. And I look at Elizabeth, my wife, and I say, "Hey, you guys." And she looks at me with this blank face.
I remember the experience being really bad for you guys because you were not on the same wavelength with movies that you had seen.
And she had seen this movie before.
Oh, that's funny because I knew the quote, but I had not seen the movie.
Yeah. So she had seen the movie, but did not remember the quote. And I'm like, "Have you not seen this movie?" And she's like, "What movie are you talking about? I don't know by Hey You Guys."
That's funny. I was waiting for that line. That's the only thing I knew about this. Okay, so now we've heard the kid plot synopsis, but you want to give me your plot synopsis in short of this movie?
My plot synopsis. A group of kids that are like really close friends, 2 brothers, close friends, go out to basically on an adventure to find hidden treasure from an old legend that everybody thinks is not true, but turns out to be true.
Yeah. And underneath all of this is this idea that their house is going to be demolished. The neighborhood, the house, it's foreclosed. They're building a golf course.
Yes. Yes. So it's not 100% clear whether it's like they can't afford their house or they're just going to, or they are just getting, what is it? Domain? What is it? What's that called?
Eminent domain.
Eminent domain?
It's just all a contrivance so they can go on this trip. We all know.
Yeah, and they conveniently find...
Don't spoil it. we're going to get there. But
I had the beginning of this movie. I mean, are you ready for this? You have something that you want to
No, please.
I mean, the beginning of this movie, right? Like it starts out with the jailbreak.
Yeah.
Of the antagonists of the movie, the bad guys of this movie, which are adults.
Yeah.
This Italian, I guess, family or
New
Jersey family
Yep.
in Portland, because this is in like Washington.
They're certainly this stereotypical something.
Yeah, which is like, okay, why is he in jail in this part of the country? If they're either Italian or I'm going to say Italian.
It doesn't matter. But they start off with him hanging in his jail cell, which I was like, oh, this is going a direction.
Yeah. And the beginning of the movie, so we're watching this with the kids, and I completely had blanked at how much these little kids cuss.
Dude. Okay, we didn't swear in my house, nor do we now. It's just not a thing. And I find this is the case with a lot of old movies that I introduce to my children, where I'm like, there's so many words. And my kids, they're going to public school. They're like, oh, it's fine, Dad. We hear these words all the time.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, well, great. But I'm like, I'm not trying to show it to you in our house.
Yeah.
The funny thing is literally the night before, I had a dream that Justice was using one of those words over and over again. And I'm like laying into him in the dream, like, Justice, you can't talk like this. And then we watched this movie. I'm like, oh, it's so funny.
But so it starts off with the bad guy. One of the criminals is in his cell, and it looks like he hung himself.
Yeah.
The guard comes in, and the note says like, what is it? It says something like, you idiot. I can't believe you think
you
really
thought I would do this to
thought
myself.
I really do this to myself. And so he like ambushes him, knocks him out, gets out, and his brother is outside with their mother
In the car.
And he's pouring, is it alcohol or acetone?
Oh, I didn't pay
Acetone?
attention. Some sort of
Something
flammable liquid.
around the parking lot, so that when the brother comes out, he can just he shoots at it with a gun. He said light a match. He shoots at it with a gun, which I'm not 100% sure that would actually
That would not work.
To light it on fire so that the police officers can't get to the car, and then they get out and they drive away. So that's how this movie starts.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, this is crazy.
And then they basically come police chase by all of our main characters.
Yes, exactly. Which, we're going to introduce our characters in little by little. But one of them, which I think is the best actor in this, kid actor, they don't believe him when he says like,
oh yeah, because he makes up stories all the time. This is Chunk.
So one of the things I wanted to say about this movie was, it's so. I love the fact that like it's another Steven Spielberg movie.
Sort of, right? It was like his, but then it sort of got handed down.
Yeah, but it's like that whole kids, like he had kids in this and they were great actors. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I'm watching this and I'm going, I can't remember the last time I saw really good kid actors other than like, what's that Netflix movie, a Netflix show?
Stranger Things? Yeah. Which feels very reminiscent of this. Okay.
So they probably got a lot of their...
I'm taking, take this all with a grain of salt. I have never seen this. I don't have any past history. I didn't grow up watching this. I have no emotional ties to this. I did not love the kid actors.
You did it?
No. I liked this, it was fun to watch, right? But I had a note. I was like, the acting in this is not, and I don't know what, maybe Stranger Things has spoiled my expectations for this. Because I'm like, even you got Sean Astin in there, Samwise Gamgee.
Oh, he's delivered some pretty brutal lines.
Yeah. And I respect him as an actor, but he's a kid in the movie. I don't expect more from a kid. So again, my expectations were not high.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say I walked away going like, wow, give this an award.
No, I don't think but for how, that's why I say Chunk was probably the best.
Yeah.
He remembered the way he rattled out his lines.
True.
That was great. He did a better job than Sean Astin.
Sure.
For sure. I mean, there was when they're in the well, spoiler, the line that Sean Astin delivers, right? He's like, it's our time down here. It's not our time up there. Down here is our time.
I don't remember this at all.
It's so robotic. I'm like, what?
No, I don't. It was fine. Yeah, he was fine. And I liked pointing out to my kids as the actors would show up, hey, this is Thanos. Do you recognize him?
I told the kids that too. That's Josh Brolin. It's Thanos. And they're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Or I stared at the villain brother who lit the fire. Do you know where he's from?
Oh yeah, he's from the Matrix.
Yeah, he's Cypher from the Matrix. I'm looking at his face like, why do I know this guy? Why do I know this guy? And I finally, I try and avoid pulling up IMDb so I can just engage with the movie. But I'm like, I can't. This is driving me crazy. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh.
It was so fun to watch the kids watch the beginning of this movie.
Yeah.
For me, I took some notable things that I took away from the beginning. Watching the kids, I think the beginning was for me kind of the best moments because the kids were just getting into oh, these are other kids, they're friends or all that stuff.
I couldn't watch my kids because I was watching it. Yeah. So I mean, I would occasionally check in, but I wasn't paying as much attention.
They were so
to their
engaged,
faces.
and they were like, "This is great."
How 80s though was that when they get is it Data, the kid that they let in, when they have to like set the thing to let him into the door?
So that's what I was gonna say, right? Like so Mouth, played by
I can't remember his name.
what's his name? Oh my gosh.
It'll come to us.
It'll come to us later. But anyway, Mouth, he comes in and he comes into the house pretty easily. Right?
Yeah.
But when Chunk comes to the house, the gate is closed. And they have to do the whole contraption thing.
Yeah, with the bowling ball.
With the bowling ball.
It's so impractical, but so 80s.
But did Mouth do that? Did Mouth just jump over?
I don't know.
Yeah. So that was like, okay, whatever. But the kids thought that was awesome.
It's very like, it was like that in Back to the Future too, where you're like, how often are you resetting this thing? How much time does it take you to bring the bowling ball back up to the top of the whatever?
Yeah. But the whole chaos that happens in the house because they're alone, because their mom is out. And that's what gives me the idea that like it wasn't a money issue, is why they had to like get rid of the house or they were losing the house. It was like
something else. Maybe poor financial management though.
Well, because they could afford a nanny. Remember the nanny that she hires to help around the house before they have to like lose the house in a couple days?
Why is she in this movie? Just for the jokes?
I guess.
Yeah.
Well, before she comes to the house, right?
She almost gets run over by the criminals.
Well, yeah. But the kids are having fun in there. Like everyone's there. They're like playing around and they knock the statue of, was it David?
Yeah.
And then
they're trying to glue it back together.
Yeah. The face my wife like makes is like the penis of the statue falls off. They're trying to glue it back, and she's just like,
I know.
hand to the face.
Okay.
Like, oh my gosh.
But those things for the kids are so hysterical.
They are.
Right? And that's what this movie does really well. They know their audience. We're going to play into this and, like make it. Yeah. It's very slapstick at times. And so you get the slapstick balanced with the kind of adventure element. And those things make you like, okay, want to watch.
No, for sure. I think the kids had a blast. And like, the way they end up, I forget what makes them go into the attic to try to find
the map
or,
I don't remember either.
I don't remember that part. I don't remember why they went upstairs. Something about looking through stuff because they're going to lose everything. And
they knew it was their dad's space. Yeah. Some sort of known thing.
Yeah. Or something he collects. He collected art. He collected a bunch of stuff.
But that's also what I mean. Like they didn't spend a whole lot of time realistically explaining to an adult viewer because it didn't matter for the movie, But what those are the questions I have. I'm like, where is his dad? What does he do? Are they separated? I didn't at the end. Obviously not. He was just, I don't know.
He was out working for nothing.
For nothing. Yeah. Because they're not earning any money.
But yeah, so they go upstairs, they find the map
inside the frame or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so Sean Astin like, hey Chunk, hold this, because he knows there's a map.
Again, yeah. So like unnecessary.
And he counts 3, 2, 1, and he drops it, it breaks, it opens up. But earlier when the nanny gets introduced, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey Mouth, can you help translate?
Oh, so
and
funny.
She walks him through the house and like trying to tell her like, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna clean this. You're gonna do that. And he's translating and saying all these terrible things to her in Spanish. And I'm going, okay, does he actually know how to translate Spanish?
It seems like he did because they use that later.
Well, yeah, they do kind of, but he rattled it off like nothing. And then when he's looking at this map, he's like, what does that say? I was so perfect before, but now I'm struggling.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
Again, child acting.
Yeah. He's like translating Spanish and the language is a bit much for sure, but it was so like out there that he could like read the map in Spanish and translate it.
Yeah.
Like out of nowhere. You took a couple Spanish classes. Wait, how old is he again?
Yeah. Yeah. And the mom just full on trusts him. Again, it makes no sense except that this is for fun.
Yeah.
There were so many things like that. When we came later and they're underground, this is way in the future, but they're moving those pipes.
Oh, yeah.
For no reason. This is just so it could be funny for the guy sitting on the toilet or the person trying to drink out of the water fountain or whatever.
Well, I think they thought they were in a dead end. And they're like, let's hit the pipes to see if somebody will hear us to like, dig us out?
I don't know. It didn't. It was just for fun.
Yeah.
Like we're just here to have a good time.
The only purpose for it was, I think they were in a dead end. The pipes burst and like knocks the wall down so they can continue going.
Sure.
But, we find out later that somebody else had already gone down that way. So
yeah, it didn't matter.
How did it get closed off?
I enjoy though the time travel nature of this. Like Josh Brolin with his shorts over his sweatpants.
Yeah, I know
was that
who
a
made
thing?
that comment. Yeah, I don't know if it was. I mean, I had just been born, so
I was
it
but
wasn't
a
a thing
wee
when I.
lad.
Yeah, it wasn't a thing when I was growing up, but apparently it was then.
Or when they get up to the attic and there's that electricity, like the ball, the electrical. Did you have those when you were a kid?
No, I didn't have one of those, but I mean, I was familiar with them.
That was like such a thing in the 80s,
Yeah.
early 90s.
and they would just so happen to be on in the attic too.
Yes. Where are they plugged in? That's what I wondered too. Or he was talking about his top score in pole position. I'm not even sure I've ever played pole position.
And Data, that actor, he's in Marvel now. He's
we'll talk about everything everywhere all at once. Yeah,
he was in Indiana Jones. Yeah, I mean, it's funny how he did all these little movies then, and then now he's took a really big hiatus. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
But he's back. Yeah.
Mm.
There were a couple dated things like that, like the Hardy Boys or whatever that they would mention. And I go, okay, my kids aren't getting any of these references. It didn't really matter. I did like how the villains, as silly as they were really awful. And I think this is kind of an 80s thing too. But when they have Chunk in that room and they're trying to get information out of him with that blender, like, this is truly like,
maybe we'll start with the teeny fingers. She was terrible.
Yeah. And those sort of tactile, that felt very 80s to me.
Yeah.
You know, that or even the introduction of Sloth when it's real creepy there for a bit and he gets locked in the room with them.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty scary as an element for the kids. My kids were scared.
I remember watching the first time and thinking like that was really scary too. And I was watching my kids to see if they thought it was really scary. The only person who thought maybe it was a little bit much was Ella. And, you know, she's 7 or 6, about to turn 7. And she thought that was, but the other kids were fine with it. So
yeah,
maybe I was more of a scaredy
youngest
cat.
Clark thought that too, that you could tell like that was scary, the music or whatever, like he was getting a little antsy at that point. But I was asking him after the fact about it because he mentioned it. Like, oh, I didn't really like that part. Like, oh, but he was better later, right? The character, and I gave him the line, I'm like, you know, hey, you guys. He's like, what? Did he say that? I'm like, yeah.
He said it like 4 or 5 times. Hey,
only twice. Only twice.
Only twice?
I think so.
Oh, I guess Chunk said it a couple times.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Well, that's how he taught it. That's how he like mimicked Chunk basically.
Oh man.
Because Chunk said, hey, you guys. He would always say it. Hey, you guys, there's bullet holes in that car, you know?
Oh, right.
So he got it from Chunk, you know?
Okay.
But that's where I was talking. That's what I was, you know, going back to of like the delivery of that actor's, his lines of like, all right, you know, tell us from the beginning. Go back to the start. He's like, okay. Fine.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah. That was a fun time.
The one about him puking into his jacket and spilling it over on the people in the theater and then having everybody puke too. And he was like, that was the worst I've ever felt in my entire life. It's like, that got a bunch of laughs in while we were watching it. So that was really cool.
I thought, and I don't know if this is a particularly 80s thing, maybe the absent parent idea, which does carry over. Like you watch something like Stranger Things now, and I think maybe they take a little more time explaining maybe or giving you some context as to why the parents aren't around. Yeah. In a movie like this, maybe it's just assumed kids are taking care of themselves. I know that's how, I mean,
I kind of grew up that way.
I wasn't quite like that, but I got that vibe. Because nowadays I'm like, kids, get out of the house. Like go do something. They're never disconnected. Where I feel like as a kid, I had the opportunity to just like ride my bike until it was time for dinner.
Yeah. I mean, I think the movie did a good job of letting you like kind of giving that feeling that these friends kind of did that a lot. Like they went out, they hung out outside a lot, did things a lot. I mean, they called themselves the Goonies.
Why? You know? Okay, so I was looking at it later, and because the place that they lived was called the Goondocks, but is that their name for it? It can't be an official name.
I'm not sure.
They didn't really talk about that a lot, and I was trying to get some sort of explanation.
Yeah, let us know in the comments, I guess, you know.
Somebody probably knows. Like, I've seen this movie 100 times. It was very well explained. Yeah. I don't know. But the parents don't show up again until the end because the whole adventure's going on.
Just with them, yeah.
But the thing that really stuck out to me, again, as far as like 80s elements, the kissing scene at the end, I'm like, these two kids are making out and their parents are just standing there. I'm like, I'm a parent now. So I'm like, why are you just standing by? Like, oh, you know, because again, it's the kid's perspective. But
yeah, because how old are they? They're teenagers. I mean,
barely.
So as a parent, I'd be like, oh, hey guys, cut it out.
Did you recognize the other female character? Trying to remember her name. I think her name was Steph.
long haired.
Short hair.
No.
She, to me, I was like, why do I know this girl's face? And I looked her up because I couldn't pinpoint it either. And I thought, I don't know, this is probably terrible to say, but she looked like a female young Dwight Schrute, or like they could have been related.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but she's in this new series that I found called Sprung.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about this guy that he's in prison for some minor, whatever crime that he committed. But during COVID, they're letting a bunch of people out that are maybe under a certain level, like low-level criminals, just because it's COVID.
Yeah.
And so he gets released out into the world in 2020 or whatever it is, not knowing anything. Like there's a virus, what's going on, and just getting plopped into the world and having to figure it out. It's pretty funny. I think it's like one season out currently.
Yeah.
But she plays basically the mom of the other character in this show. And
she plays a mom now?
Yes.
Wow.
She's very much older because this is, the year 2024 now. But her character is really funny. And I don't know what she's been in since then to now, but that's a show worth watching.
That's awesome.
You'd like it.
A 38-year-old movie, You Goonies now.
Yeah. Yep. So, hey, you guys was a line I knew. The other that I wrote down that I thought were funny was a kid saying, I'm setting booty traps. I thought was funny.
I'm saying booty trap. You mean booby traps? That's what I said. I said booby traps.
And when they were trying to figure out the little piano in the cave or whatever, and she's like, the final note, and I can't, she's trying to read the music. She's like, it's either an A sharp or a B flat. And I'm laughing. And then I had to explain to my kids and my wife that that's the same note, you know?
Oh, yeah. I didn't catch that. That's good.
So, but for you, are there any other memorable quotes? Because I've only seen it once.
Well, not memorable. I don't know if there's memorable quotes. Well, like slick shoes, you know?
I don't even remember that line.
So, you know, when they're getting chased after by what are the Fratellis?
Yeah.
Right? They're getting chased by the Fratellis and they're like crossing an underwater river in the cave, like underneath their town, which is cool. Crossing over like a log and he's like, hey, you guys, slick shoes.
Oh, yes.
And
Yeah.
Oil comes out of his...
He's got that little thing in his utility belt or whatever.
Yeah. And I guess that, always remember slick shoes. The only other thing that I didn't remember before, but I kind of loved was the bad guy who originally was found fake hanging himself. When Chunk runs out into the street and is like, hey, I know where the Fratellis are. I can describe them by their faces, by memory or whatever. And he turns the light on.
And he starts singing?
And he starts singing. And
why?
It's like, yeah, I looked at it. I'm like, why is he doing that?
He had been singing once before downstairs, so I guess that's part of his character.
Yeah. I'm like, but he never does it again?
Nope. No, just those two times.
Good. Well, I mean, yeah. And the whole movie, wraps up with them finding One-Eyed Willie's treasure.
Of course.
Which was pretty cool. I mean, it was definitely one of those like adventure. It had a bunch of cool segments, you know. This scene with the pipes. I mean, whether it was cool or not, whatever, unnecessary.
It was funny. You know what I really enjoyed, actually, and I don't know if this is something you're thinking of, was him trapped in the freezer with the dead body.
Oh, yeah. With the stiff.
Yeah.
I'm trapped in here with the stiff.
But later, he just opens the door and gets out. So it didn't really make any logical sense.
That's true. Yeah. That was crazy.
But it was very funny to watch. And also, they take they call it a pee break, right? So, and they go to the bathroom. And I was thinking, this never happens in movies. Nobody ever goes to the bathroom.
Oh, that's pretty funny. Yeah, that's right.
But it was probably just so they could be like, well, I'm going to the men's room, not the boys' room.
Yeah. Really, really, really cool stuff. It's just like split up from like the different stages of how this movie goes and like the characters, bond with each other, especially like the two brothers really bond.
That chunk with Sloth, I thought was fun.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Because he was legitimately scary from a kid perspective, and then all of a sudden he's like endearing.
Like this gentle giant,
Yeah, but by the end he's like, I love you.
Yeah, exactly. I love you, Chunk.
Yeah.
You're gonna come live with me now.
Yeah.
Well, that's a meme. People use that a lot of time.
Oh yeah, I've never noticed. Yeah. I just didn't know the line.
But yeah, that was really cool. I love the end when like he throws it Sloth throws his brothers overboard. But then at the end, he like gets to his mom, and his mom's like, "Oh, come here, Mama, you've been bad." And she sings him "Rockabye Baby," and he's like, "Fall." And that horrific like realization that she probably dropped him. Well, she says, "I I only dropped you once. Okay, maybe twice. And that's why he's deformed. That's terrible. That would never fly in a movie today.
Is that actor in any other movie?
The mom? The
No. The mom, I think, is, but the guy who plays Sloth.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't look him up or anything like that, but I'm sure he is a big dude like that. They probably
actually, I'm looking him up right now. He hasn't been in anything since 1990. I hope he hasn't died.
What was
Mouth? He did.
He died?
Wait, this says he died in June of 1989.
So he wasn't around that long.
So what is he in 1990?
Right, so
something came out a year
later.
Released.
Yeah. Who's the actor that plays Mouth? Man, I know it's on the tip of my tongue.
Oh, Corey Feldman.
Corey Feldman, yeah. He was a Ninja Turtle too, in the original Ninja Turtle.
He was one of the guys in the outfit?
He was Donatello. I don't know if he was in the outfit, but his voice was.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
He was also in the Burbs with Tom Hanks.
Never seen it.
Yeah. Oh, maybe we should watch that. It's
yeah,
an
maybe.
old one.
What I enjoyed though, the rabbit trail, was going onto IMDb and looking at the parent guide. Have you ever looked at that? I didn't even know. I mean, I know some websites exist out there, but I've never looked at it at IMDb. And the very first thing under sex and nudity was a couple instances of teenagers kissing.
Oh.
First of all, funny that it's there, but also, actually, there is a lot of that in this movie.
A few.
They point out some other stuff that's just really funny, but it's all kind of slapstick and silly.
I love the way they just like end it with them finding the treasure, the kids feeling accomplished, like they did something. At the end, they weren't able to like leave with the treasure.
Well, except what
he had. Yeah, what
which apparently was enough to save the Boondocks.
That's what I was going to bring up, was those jewels that he had or whatever, those precious gems. The dad is about to sign a paper, like sign his land away.
Yeah.
And the nanny or the...
Oh, yeah, she does come back.
Yeah, she comes back. She's like, don't sign in Spanish. And he's like, again, is he really good at Spanish or not? Because she's like, no, don't pen, don't sign. Like, she knows the simplest like phrase.
That's right.
And she shows him the handful of jewels.
Right.
And he rips up the paper. We're not signing this now. I was like, wait a minute. You didn't go to a bank to see how much these cost.
Yeah, who knows? They could be worthless. They didn't look valuable to me, honestly. I'm like, what are those?
Well, even if there were a couple, let's say there were a couple, $10,000-$20,000, is that really enough to save your house and your land? Like, how cheap was the land back then, 1985? That somebody could just like take your place and, they're going to build a golf course on top.
I don't know.
That was really interesting that the dad wouldn't be like, well, hold on, before I tear this up, let me evaluate this first. Or the other guy at least was like, hey, those jewels don't amount to the same amount of money I'm getting for this house. Like, that was like one of those things where
we
like,
talked about Jurassic Park last week and the kid perspective and it adding to sort of the feeling of the movie.
I think that's,
I didn't feel that I felt like that's all that mattered in this movie because the adults were just like gone, so the dad as a character is not a character.
No.
The mom is kind of maybe a stereotypical mom in some fashion.
Yeah.
But they're just sort of there to then get out of the way and then watch the kids kiss at the end.
Yeah, it's very much a kid's adventure movie for sure.
Yeah.
As an audience, I don't think you're supposed to care too much or at all.
Yeah, about the parents
and their
adults
problems.
at all, except for the criminals.
But the fact that you feel a sense of like, yes, the kids got what they wanted at the end, that the guy wasn't able to get the house,
right,
or the land. So you feel like, oh yeah,
I'm going to go on an adventure now.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and then look at the ship riding off into the sunset.
And we're all just going to watch it.
The police officers
Nobody's
are like,
hold
do
on. Anything.
Someone call the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
So it's like very much, I think from that point of view, I think it's really about the kids watching this without any of the thought of what an adult would actually think of all this.
Sure.
Like, you did what? You found dynamite?
You see, Mom and Dad, you were wrong to tell me I had to stay in my room. That's what every kid wanted. Yep. The opportunity to be like, you see, all these rules that you gave me, they didn't actually matter because I did it my own way. And now I saved our house.
Yeah, I can play with dynamite.
Yeah.
Not a problem at all. I thought there were candles.
It makes me think of that scene in A Christmas Story where the kid is having that like fantasy of how he goes blind because his parents put soap in his mouth and it was soap poisoning. That's a kind of like a kid fueled vision that reminded me of. Like I remember as a kid thinking like, oh, well, one day they'll see, and now of course we're the parents and we're giving our kids the rules.
Yeah, exactly. I think, there's aspects of it that I'm like, yeah, that's what a kid's life should be. Out with your friends, riding bikes, maybe, a few miles, couple, 3-4 miles away from home. You find something, you go explore something.
We explored our entire street when I was a kid for sure. And then depending on where we lived or whatever, we had a certain area that we could go in. I found out now in conversations with my family that, there were times where they were concerned, certainly. My dad had this horn. It looked like a shofar, but it wasn't. He had it from Boy Scouts way when he was a kid. And it had this like party horn, like metal piece on it.
Yeah.
So you would sound like a giant party horn. And we were in this apartment complex. And when it was time for dinner, my dad would blow this horn. And it was the most embarrassing thing, and now it's funny to think back on. But back then it was, nuts. You're at the playground playing with your friends. And all of a sudden you're like, burr, 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 burr. And your kids are like, hey, you got to go home for dinner. Or whatever. But I did. So thinking about that sort of freedom as a kid and now, in the time and age where we live, and certainly everybody wants to be on a screen or inside or whatever the case is, that I did. It was only a couple of weeks ago where I took my kids and was like, listen, if you have a device, just put it down, give it to me, go outside, go do something.
Yeah.
And there's always a sense of reluctance at first, like, I don't want to, that's so boring or whatever. And it takes like 5 minutes and then everybody is perfectly fine.
Exactly.
We're running around outside. And that's why I told them, like, go explore the neighborhood, get on your bike. And they were so excited about the idea of not just being in the cul-de-sac, but just going, and I'm like, stay with each other, but just go do something. Now the downside is that as a parent, you're managing with some other day, like summer break is going on. Right. And one of my kids was complaining or didn't want to do, I'm like, just go outside, just go do something. And I'm here working from home and I hear the front door open and then shut, and then nothing. And I thought, oh, okay, Justice, he's just hanging out outside or something. He'll do stuff on his own, just play around.
Yeah.
But then he didn't come back in. And now fast forward, and I'm like searching the house, waking up, my other kids, like, where is he? I don't see him. Amanda's gone. She was at work or shopping or doing something. Mm-hmm. And now I'm like, I've lost my child. And I'm circling the house. And so thanks to the Ring doorbell, I open it up and I pull up the video. And he got to the end of the perimeter. He got up. The video is really funny. I'll show you. He opens the door and he stands there kind of just gazing out into the horizon. And then he just walks. And the Ring catches him going to the end of the driveway and then it just turns off. I'm like, where is he? So then it's like 40 minutes of like, I'm on my bike. Lucy and Clark are walking the neighborhood. Well, it turns out he just left, went all the way down to the kids' junior high bus stop, which is a good distance from our house, and then just came back. And of course, came back while we were all gone. And then he texted me from the little iPad that the kids use, like, Dad, where are you? Yeah. Like, where'd you go?
You're the one got lost.
And I'm like very calmly trying to, like, as a parent, like, okay, I told him to go outside. When you go, you need to at least go with somebody or tell me where you are. But honestly, I would rather have that adventure than just be like, get off your screen for all day long.
Yeah, for sure. Without your parents and with friends or even with your siblings, like that stuff, it will stick with you for a lifetime, right? And you might find something cool, like kids run into all sorts of stuff, like there's a dead rabbit or something, like what in the world, or the sewer, like the open sewers, and they're like, oh, what's in there, whatever, how far can we get? And what's really cool, I think most of the time, I think all of us have a little bit of that chunk in us where we're like, hey guys, maybe we shouldn't do this thing. There might be one or two who are like, nah, we're going for it. Yeah. And like that balance is really good. I think for the most part, me growing up, I definitely had a little more of the chunk of like, I don't know about that, or a little far away, or this is a little too far. I don't want to go down that deep into the sewer.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And
I like the idea as a kid. I do remember, and probably movies like this inspiring me to like tape a flashlight to the top of my bike helmet. And like you said, like crawl into like a sewer like that with like a fake plastic sword or something,
Yeah.
Because as a kid, it's like, oh, we're going to do this. We're going to go explore. And then,
take your bike out and go to another friend's house across town, go get him and then come back. Like just doing that too is doing it on your own this like sense of independence that you're not going to get with your kids being at home and not like on a screen the entire time or
Right.
whatever.
And I
So
think now as an adult, there's not a lot of that either. Like you grow up, you have responsibilities. Now, it's different things that you're occupied with, but there's not often that sense of I'm going to go and dream and explore and experience something new. It's like you're doing your day to day.
Yep. You could always live vicariously through the Goonies.
I mean, that's what this movie is for. Okay. So here we are now. What do you think about this? And I want to hit this from a couple different levels.
Yeah.
How did your kids experience it? Was it their first time watching it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was their first time watching it. They loved it. They were like, "This is cool. We love pirates." Chunk was funny. The scary guy was scary, but he was still really cool.
Mhm.
Still really fun. It blew by. I mean, I forget how long the movie is, but it felt like it went by pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so the kids were like ramped up after it. I think we hung out, they played, they still ran around the house. And so it's not one of those where like they watch this and then they're like, okay, we're bored. What's next? What can we watch after it? It definitely gave them the sense of like, let's move around now. Let's maybe reenact some of the stuff we saw.
Right.
Which is really cool.
How was it from your perspective? Was it what you remembered it being?
It wasn't all of the kids cussing aspect of it, I did not remember at all. I was like, whoa, okay. And there were moments that came back to me, like the piano playing part where I didn't notice it before, but when they're looking at the map for the very first time, the camera is pointed in a sense where you see the back of the map and you see at the very top, you see the notes.
Oh yeah.
I completely didn't get that the first time. I'm like, I thought that how did they find notes on the map? Well, no, they were there all along.
Yeah, those are the things you catch when you rewatch something that.
Yeah, so all those types of things, I think they're like really purposeful of what they did with like what was in the movie in that sense. But I saw it and I was like, this is, for me, I hadn't watched this movie in a long time, and it brought back a lot of memories of just like watching it as a kid.
Sure.
The time period brought me back to like when I lived in Coolmore in Falls Church in the apartment complex or whatever, and loving the quotes of like, "Hey, you guys!"
Yeah.
Like it was all right. It was a really good throwback for me.
So we only had two of our kids because camp is going on.
Yeah.
And I had a list of questions that was just to get them to talk about it. Like, what did you think? Like, what surprised you, or what did you love the most, or what was the funniest, or all I could get was like, did you like it? Yeah. Well, okay, so tell me more about it. But by the end of the conversation, both Amanda and I are chiming in like, well, what did you think about this? Or did you like that? Or, oh, it was fine. I liked it.
Yeah.
But that was it. Nothing else. And for my kids, it went right on to the next thing.
Wow.
Yeah. And so for me, I don't have any of the nostalgia tied to it, except that I kind of know some of the lines. So as much as I enjoyed the experience, I'm watching this and like, yeah, I don't know.
Would you recommend it?
I would say if you like this, that's awesome. But I don't think you need to watch it if you haven't seen it.
I think in a sense, like if you like movies, if you like what people do today, I think there's a lot of stuff and tropes that you'll find that people still use today from this movie.
Do you think they came from this movie? Because I guess maybe that's part of what I'm feeling is some of those things I think like, oh, well, this is just, it didn't feel, but maybe if it was the first of its kind.
I don't think it was the first of its kind. Maybe not.
What are the kind of tropes that you mean?
Well, like, the having to go and find something, or like,
sure,
like, that portion of, obstacle course type thing in movies, adventure movies of like, what's the movie with National Treasure? That movie.
Yeah.
It's like that.
If I had to rewatch a movie, I would
thing.
rewatch Goonies over National Treasure.
Yeah. Kind of like that whole thing of like, this thing will lead to that thing, and then this thing leads to that thing type of trail.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a like, I guess the quintessential like follow a treasure map movie or story.
Yeah.
It's
it's summer now, and the theaters have these $1 movies where they're re-releasing stuff in the theaters, whatever. And so today, this morning at 11 a.m., I didn't get popcorn this time. 11 a.m., we go to the theater and saw Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, that's an awesome movie.
Such an awesome movie. And I go, okay, there are just certain movies like this that have ruined okay movies for me. Because I feel like this about like, you know, junk food or sweets or stuff. And I feel like this now about movies too. Like, it had better be really good for me to use my time or energy or whatever. And like, if I'm going to eat this cookie, you know, same thing about this movie. So that's how I feel about this. I'm like, it's fine. It's dessert. It's like, it's a good time. I laughed.
Yeah.
I was engaged. Like you, I'm like, I got to the end of it. I didn't feel like it had been a long time. There have been movies where I sat and I was like, oh, no, thank you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
I think it kept a lot of pace. I think there's some downfall for that because there's not a lot of thought into different things.
Yeah, they're not filling out all those things because they just got right to it.
Exactly.
I applaud them for that.
Yeah, some things are like unexplained and you're like, why did that have to happen? Why was that there? You know, okay.
We're just having fun.
We're just having fun. I mean, there's stupid movies like that, like The Expendables, where it's just all action-packed. They don't explain anything. It's just like, this just happens.
You're here for an action movie.
You're here for an action movie. That's dumb. It's whatever.
So that's it. If you're coming and you just want a fun 80s ride, sure.
A
movie
throwback
night.
80s ride for sure.
Yeah.
If you want to know what like the 80s felt like, that's pretty spot on. I mean, I'm more of a 90s
swearing
kid.
all the time and running out of the house with treasure maps.
You know, playing with dynamite and guns, you know, eating a bunch of ice cream.
A little boxing glove attached to your belt.
Rocky Road.
That really was, the surprise of looking for the ice cream and finding the dead body was probably my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. The story of him puking, that was pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, my vote is pure nostalgia, but you're saying it holds up.
Half and half.
Oh, man. We're going to have to come up with some sort of rules on our rating system.
Right?
Here.
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, right? If we had like a rating system, what would it be? I don't know. I guess we'll figure that out as we go, but
we'll figure that out. But if we're just between does it hold up or is it nostalgia, I'm leaning more on the nostalgia for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a nostalgia thing. If I was coming in at dry, I'd be like, yeah, you had to be there, I guess.
Yeah,
you had to be there to get it. If you were in that time period and you watched this before, you're probably like, yeah, I love that movie.
It's certainly an element of its time. And I can't imagine what it would be like to be a kid born in the aughts or the 20, like my kids in 2010, 2015, watching this going, it just probably feels like a different world.
Yeah. I think it's, you know what, I think the thing that for me makes it hold up is that these actors are still acting today.
Yeah.
You know, would they still be acting today if this movie hadn't gone well? If this movie bombed then?
The movie definitely did well. Apparently, they've been trying to make a sequel for it, or there've been rumors about it for years, and then it just keeps falling flat.
Reunion Goonies
thing.
They lost the land and the houses after all. Turns out the jewels weren't enough to save the house.
They lost the land the next day. It just ended.
We should write the script for it and they submit it and see if we make some money off of it.
I don't think anybody cares.
But yeah, I mean, it must have done really well then. I mean, you've got Sean Astin is still acting. I mean, come on. Josh Brolin, he's still acting.
Oh, he is having the biggest resurgence right now.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Between Dune and Marvel, and he's in Deadpool.
Yeah, he was in Deadpool 2. He was Thanos. You know, he's in Dune. I mean, he's
still doing the same thing, still bulking up. You know, he started here with that stupid contraption,
which they tied him down
spring loaded. Yeah, and then it paid off for him, man.
It did. And then now you've got the Asian kid. He's acting today again now too.
Ke Huy Quan.
Yeah.
Good. Butchered that name.
Yeah. You probably did better than I would have done. What did we say Mouth was it again? He passed away. The actor who played Mouth.
Did he? I have no idea.
I thought he did. What was his name again?
I already forgot. I feel terrible.
Yeah, my memory is very bad at these right now for some reason.
Corey Feldman.
He passed away, didn't he?
No. Just born July 16th. That's all it says. Did he?
Oh man, I'm starting to fake news.
Yeah, he's in something coming out in 2024.
Wow, he's still acting. See, these guys are still acting. What about Chunk? He probably passed away. Kept eating Rocky Roads.
No, he looks pretty good right now. Jeff Cohen. I don't know if he's been in much else since then. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a nostalgia thing, but at the same time, I would recommend somebody watch it just for a fun ride. I mean, if you have kids and maybe older kids that, you tell them beforehand, hey, these kids are going to use some language that we don't use at home. I think it'll fly.
Well, you've heard it from us. You say, sure, give it a watch. I say, don't waste your time.
I love this. I love that we finally have, we like, I don't know how many of these we're going to have, but yes, you say don't watch it. No, don't waste your time. I'm like, yeah, give it a shot. I think it's fun.
If you know the line, hey, you guys, that's all you need.
Yep. And slick shoes.
All right. So here's my idea for a third segment. We talk about, what do you think about this? What are you thinking right now? So when you're not watching a movie for the pod, what are you guys watching or reading or doing at home? Or what are you into?
I mean, I'm into a lot of AI stuff. I don't know why it's been in like conversation.
You mean you're just looking into it?
Well, just reading about
what
people are thinking about AI. You got where Elon Musk is at. He's like, this is evil. We shouldn't do this. Or unless we should only do this if we have some guardrails. Other people are like, no, we should let this go.
What do you think about it?
I don't know. I don't know where I'm landing on it.
I mean, it's a lot, so it's hard to say. But are you excited about the idea of it? Do you use it?
I don't personally use it at all.
Yeah.
Anywhere. I don't. And we were just talking about this at work, where I can't really use it in the live production sense,
right?
Because everything is very hands-on, creative. Like you have to have like that hand-to-eye coordination.
It's happening
like, visual
live.
Thing. It's happening live.
Post-production. So I've started using it in post-production in some cases, like suggesting, hey, why don't you use this clip? And then you still get your hands in there and you edit it.
Yeah.
But whatever. But what I did enjoy, we have a whole thread now on Instagram of me and my two older kids, because Instagram has that like imagine function where you used to be able to go in and search for a GIF to send to somebody.
A GIF?
Now
or GIF? You say GIF?
I say GIF.
I say GIF.
No, see, we are different. Now you can just go into Imagine and type in anything. So me and the kids back and forth. Like Lucy sent me like Wolverine in Starbucks drinking coffee, and then it just creates an AI image. It's hilarious.
Oh, that's awesome.
If you haven't messed with this yet, this should be the
next. I have to, yeah. Well, what I've been interested in is like people using AI using them to debate topics.
What?
Yeah.
You mean as like a counterpoint or like?
Yeah. So like the latest one that I listened to was The Divinity of Christ. And they had AI that was arguing the Islamic viewpoint of it and the Christian viewpoint of it.
Oh, the two AIs were just against each other.
Yeah, they were debating each other. And then they had a third AI kind of grading it, I guess, who had better arguments.
That's weird.
Super interesting. And then it was like a couple of levels of this, of like, AI versus AI, and then 2 AI versus 2 AI. And then the third level was like crazy, 10 AIs versus 10 AIs. So like collaborative AI debating, basically.
That's, I think, right.
Wild.
Watching this happen and the age that we are and the way that the world is kind of accelerating at this crazy pace is crazy to be a part of. Like, if you really think about the advances that have happened in just since the 80s or whenever, it's nuts. And now that we're talking AI, it's a little scary if you think about the implications, but I'm like, well, we're riding this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think about it. My generation is the generation that was, pre-cell phones. Yeah. Pre-internet, the birth of internet, and now to where we are now, like self-driving cars.
Right.
And AI in such a short period of time. It's crazy.
I mean, I just saw the latest Apple keynote, a month ago or whatever. It's about to be on all of our phones, and it's like everywhere. It's a part of our lives, so it's not really going anywhere.
With that type of thing, I mean, the helpful things to like kind of take away the mundane tasks away so that you can do something that you love to do, more passionate about, Yeah. I think that's really cool.
It is. And I think that's really cool too. And that's what attracts me to it. But that was also supposed to be what smartphones were. Mm-hmm. And now studies are just showing us that they're just making us dumber.
Yep.
That just having it in the room with you is making your IQ go down.
Yeah.
And are we actually spending that time creating, or are we spending it scrolling through, Instagram or TikTok or whatever? And that's the question. Because yeah, like now, oh, you can just draft my email for me, which believe me, will save me hours. I spend so much time drafting emails. Like I want to say this in the right, most, the best way or whatever. I'm into editing. So that stuff takes me too long. I'm like, okay, I could use a time saver here.
See, if I did that, people would just know that wasn't me writing it. They'd be like, this is
my dearest Elizabeth.
This is written way too well for you to have written this.
But that's going to be everybody. That's what I mean. We're going to look back in 10 years and go like, oh, we won't even know any sort of, like now you're typing something and your computer's like, oh, you might want to misspell this word.
Oh yeah, or use this punctuation.
But now it's like, make my email funnier or make it more professional. It's crazy.
It's going to be really inauthentic,
I know.
It's going to be one of those things where people will ask for stuff and go, hey, don't use AI for this. We want to know what you really.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's why, so talking about things that we're into, like I've been rereading the Dune series now. When the movie first came out, I listened to it all in audiobook and really liked it. And so at least the first 3 books, I've since found out there's over 20 now, if you consider whatever. So I'm into book 3, which is Children of Dune. But the whole premise of Dune that they don't talk a ton about in the movie, but it's the subtext underneath it, is there existed a time, and we're talking thousands of years in the future of our future, that we gave machines intelligence, and we as a galactic society decided that was a really bad idea, and there was this giant war that happened, and now it's like a rule that we don't give intelligence to like artificial machines. It does the opposite, where like now you have people that are basically human computers, or what? It's a whole thing.
That's crazy.
I can really geek out about Dune now because I'm just really, my kids are not loving it. I'm like, guys, let's watch Dune again. They're like, Dad.
Again.
Yeah. I'll rewatch it anytime. Did you watch it? Well, we watched it together. But I mean, since then.
No, I haven't rewatched it again. It's, how long is it again? 2 hours, 3 hours?
Yeah.
So it's like I have to dedicate some pretty good time to this.
I have kids.
Yeah. And well, I mean, the thing that we're still into right now is like me and Eva before her bedtime, we'll watch Smallville.
Oh, I was gonna say you're reading Dune.
We're still. I forget how long we started, but this is like, I think this is the second time I've been through the series with her. Like I know I did this when she was like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But now she's 9. We're doing it again, and we're on season 7, 8, I think. So there's only 10 seasons, so we're getting closer to the end.
Mm.
So that's what we're into right now. So instead of watching anything at night to whatever, I don't want to get into anything because I know that around 9 o'clock, 9:15, we're going to put Smallville on. So I don't want to just stop what I'm watching or start it.
I'm going to start Goonies Dune at 3 or 4. Yeah, Dune.
Exactly. I want to start Dune and then be like, okay, I have to stop to watch Smallville. It's just too heavy to do the transition. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
I'm like going from riding sandworms to trying to fight General Zod.
I can't get my kids into it. It would have to be like Father's Day or my birthday to be like, let's all gather around and watch Dune and monopolize the TV in the living room for 3 hours.
I'd much rather do like Lord of the Rings or something.
No, totally.
Yeah.
We can talk about that in a future episode too. We've already gotten suggestions. But yeah, okay. Let us know what you think about this topic, about future topics, things that you want us to discuss.
Yeah.
You can email us at hello@wdyt.show. What do you think?
.show.
We want to know, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you can comment Spotify, Apple, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. It's everywhere. And yeah, I'm really curious. I've already had some great suggestions for not only movies, but food for us to try. The test kitchen thing it may take off. So
nice.
We're going to have to figure out a way to do this.
I'm down. I'm super down for that.
So, and while you're at it, give us a 5-star rating and review. Now that you know how awesome the show is, we want to get this into more ears.
Definitely.
All the ears.
All the ears. Everyone's ears.
Everybody needs to hear the dulcet tones of Josue Escobar's baritone voice. Well, thanks, Josue, for another great episode today.
Yeah,
I'm glad I finally watched it.
I'm glad you finally watched it too. And I know there's a couple of things that I know we have down the line that I haven't watched that you've watched. So I'm excited to kind of see something for the first time too.
Yeah, I have some great ideas. I have some great ideas that I can't wait to see if you like it or you're just disappointed by it.
Awesome.
All right, everybody, signing off. We'll talk to you next time.
Peace out, everyone.